Hey everyone, it's Megan here from Meghan Makes Do, and today I'm going to show you how to make the front and back panels for the Blake Bomber knitting pattern. This pattern is featured this month as a make-along with its sister design, the Beacon Bomber crochet pattern. You can find all the details for the make-along, which starts now and runs through February 20th, in the description below, along with a list of materials that will be used throughout the make-along as well. The Blake Bomber features Lion Brand's Let's Get Cozy Chenille Appeal yarn paired with the amazing worsted weight basic stitch anti-pilling yarn for the ribbing, the cuffs, and the collar. This ultra cozy bomber jacket is just what you need to keep you warm all winter long, and I can't wait to see all of your Blake Bombers popping up on here and on social media. So let's go ahead and get started. For this tutorial, like I said, I'm using Lion Brand's Chenille Appeal and their basic stitch anti-pilling, both in the black, this is black, and this is Onyx, along with a pair of scissors, my 3.75 millimeter knitting needles. The pattern calls for at least, I think, 24-inch circulars, but you can use straight needles if you'd like as well. I have a slightly shorter cord since I'm just making a tiny swatch today. I also highly recommend grabbing a row counter. I found these ones on Amazon, and I will put a link below in the description so you can grab some too. These are ultra helpful, especially when working with black yarn and fuzzy yarn. I know it's a crazy combo, but this will ensure that you are keeping track of the amount of rows as you're working with that Chenille Appeal yarn. So for today's tutorial, I am just going to be making a small swatch. Since the back and front panels are all just long rectangles, this will just give you the basic idea of how they're constructed, and you'll know exactly what you need to do. But make sure that you are following along with the written pattern, which you can find for free on my blog or as a PDF in my shop. Okay, so to start our Blake Bomber, we're going to be using the basic stitch anti-pilling and our 3.75 millimeter knitting needles. And we're going to start by casting on the total number of stitches required for your size. So make sure that you are looking at the correct size of the one that you are making. For my swatch, I'm just going to cast on about 16 stitches since we're just going to kind of show you the basics here. So I like to use a long tail cast on for this part, but you can use a stretchier cast on method if you prefer that as well. Okay, so I went ahead and I cast on 15 stitches, since in the pattern your back panels will be an odd number of stitches, as well as your front panels might be odd or even. So, but basically we're going to be doing a 1-by-1 ribbing here. So for row 1, we're going to start with a knit. Oh, I'm getting myself confused here, but you know what to do. You're going to start, do a knit stitch, then a purl stitch, and back to knit stitch. And you just repeat those 2 stitches, alternating back and forth all the way across. And we're going to end with a knit stitch. Okay, so for the next row, if you have an odd number of stitches, you'll start with a purl and then a knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and end with a purl. If you have an even number of stitches, you will just go ahead and start up again, doing the same thing as the first row. You'll start with a knit, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl all the way across. And you're going to be doing this for a total of 16 rows. So if you are using a row counter, you can go ahead. We've done row 1, so we mark a 1 with our row counter, and then we can get started with the rest of our rows. So go ahead and work on your ribbing, whether you're doing the back panel for week 1 or your front panels for week 2. They're all constructed the same. You just might have slight variations in the number of stitches and if it's an odd or even number. So I'll go ahead and I'll work up those 16 rows and you'll do the same. And then I will meet you back here and show you how to switch over to that chenille appeal yarn and work the main body of our panels. Okay, so I just worked up my 16 rows. So this is about how high your bottom ribbing will be. Again, it's going to be a lot wider than this little strip right here, but we are ready to switch over to our chenille appeal yarn. And the first row of our main body is going to be on the wrong side of our work, and we're going to just purl across. So we're going to switch over to the chenille appeal and we're going to purl. So however you like to do your switching is fine. If you have a special method, oops, I like to leave a little bit of a tail here. And then after my first few stitches, I will tie a knot, but we're just going to be purling all the way across for row 1, and this is the wrong side that is facing us right now, because the right side will be the stockinette side, so all your knit stitches will be showing. Okay, so I'll stop here. I like to tie a knot, so I'm going to cut off the basic stitch anti-pilling, and if you want to leave an extra long tail here, not super long, but you can use it then to seam the edges of your bomber. And you can just do that on the back panel. You don't need to do it on, well, you'll need to do it on one of the front panels as well. But then I can tie a knot. Oh boy, sorry, my yarn is all over the place right now. Let me move my basic stitch out of the way. And then we can take our 2 tails here. And I like to tie a knot here to make sure that it's not gonna come apart on me and be all loose. Okay, so we can continue on for row 1. We are just purling all the way across with the chenille appeal yarn. And this will be the same for the front and the back panels. Ooh. Just be warned, the basic stitch can be a little bit splitty. It will split if you hit it with your needles. Okay, so row 1 is just purl all the way across. Row 2 is knit all the way across. And we just repeat those 2 rows for the total number of rows listed in the pattern for your size. So again, this is where that row counter is going to come in handy, because this fluffy chenille yarn can make it very hard to count your stitches and count your rows. So that's the end of row 2. So I'll take my row counter and move it to 2, and then I can keep going. So I'm going to just be switching back and forth. I'm going to repeat rows 1 and 2. So purl, knit, until I have the total number of rows listed in the pattern for my size. And that's all you have to do for the back panel along with the front panels. Just make sure that when you are following along with the written pattern, you're making sure you're doing the number of stitches and rows for the size that you are making. It can be helpful to kind of go through the pattern and highlight all of those numbers before you get started. So super simple, easy construction for the back panel and the front panels. So I hope that you are enjoying this make along so far. Again, all of the details are listed below in the description. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or leave a comment below. But we will be back in 2 weeks with the next part of the Blake Bomber. Thanks so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe.